in a car, and then...
Great, let's get started. So thank you again for everyone for joining us today. My name is Erin Daly, and on behalf of Everbridge, I'm excited to present this Expert Insights webinar, Expecting the Unexpected, Emergency and Incident Preparation and Training. In this webinar, our presenters will review emergency drills and crisis preparation, best practices for preparation, training, and solving critical communication challenges. After the session, we'll have a 15-minute Q&A with our speakers. So as a reminder, you can submit your questions at any time during the webinar. You may send your questions by typing in the open text field in the questions panel and sending your question to all panelists. If time runs out before your question is asked, we will try to follow up with you after the webinar has ended. Links to the recording of the webinar and slides from today's presentation will be available on our blog within a few days of today's session. You can also look for a link to the recording for all of our webinars on everbridge.com under our resources section. If you're on Twitter, we encourage you to take a moment to follow us at @Everbridge and use the webinar hashtags shown on the screen, #Everbridge and #EmergencyPrep, to share snippets of insight throughout our program with your followers. We'll even retweet some of your comments. And now I'd like to introduce you to our speakers. So Jim Bittler is the manager of the Department of Safety and Emergency Operations for Reading Health System. Jim has 31 years in emergency services as a firefighter and first responder, including 3 years as fire chief, 9 years as assistant fire chief, 5 years as chief engineer, and 5 years as safety officer. He spent the past 6 years in professional emergency management with the Reading Health System. Previously, he was the emergency management coordinator for Robeson Township in Berks County, Pennsylvania. And he also brings 13 years of experience in radiological and CBRNE emergency planning. Jim is the chair of the Reading Health System Emergency Management Steering Team and the Environment of Care Safety Committee, and a member of the Reading Health System Pandemic and Bioterrorism Planning Committees and the Berks County Pandemic Advisory Council. He acts as the hospital liaison for police, fire, and emergency medical services. Jim is trained in National Incident Management System, NIMS, from FEMA, and holds certifications in firefighting, structural building collapse, elevator incidents, electrical emergencies, vehicle rescue, radiological monitoring, hazardous materials, and patient decontamination, mass casualty, and fundamentals of emergency management. So after Jim's presentation, we'll be hearing from Claudia Dent, Vice President of Product Management at Everbridge. Claudia brings many years of experience in the technology industry, including executive positions in product management, marketing, business development, and general management in companies ranging from startup to large global enterprises. We're excited and honored to have both of our speakers with us today. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our first presenter, Jim Bittler. Jim, you may begin.
All right, thank you, Erin, for the warm welcome. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for taking time today to work on our preparedness efforts together. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Reading Health System. Reading Hospital consists of our Level 2 Trauma Center. We're a 673-bed acute care hospital in West Reading, Pennsylvania. We have quite a large facility. We have about 3 million square foot of campus spread out across 15 acres. We also have a rehabilitation hospital at our Spring Township facility, 62-bed post-acute rehab, 11-bed brain injury unit, and 50 private rooms for our transitional and skilled care area. We actually own our physician network. It's Reading Health Physician Network. All the physicians are underneath the hospital umbrella, and our medical group and the Reading Professional Services. And our Highlands at Wyomissing, it's a fairly large 113-acre retirement community. And Berkshire Health Partners, our insurance department. So how Reading Health System utilizes Everbridge. Notifications on emergency operations plan when we activate our EOP for emergencies and drills. If we have a mass casualty situation or patient decontamination, we utilize the system. For Code D disasters, internal or external events. We utilize it for power failures if we lose power, water, sewer, or a gas utility. Police activity on our campus, if we have a threat of violence, somebody with a weapon or a bomb threat, generally anytime the police department responds to our facility, we send out a message. Code red during fire emergencies. We broadcast a code red through our fire alarm system and then back it up with the Everbridge system. And if we have to do an evacuation, a partial building evacuation or the entire campus of our one building or other areas. And scheduled exercises to test the hospital's response capabilities. Communicating during the emergencies and drills, on May 14th of this year, we conducted an active shooter exercise in E-building at our patio grill. It's one of our dining areas here at our campus. We had the local police departments, the county sheriff, the county SWAT team, state police, local and county emergency management, Red Cross, our local EMS providers, and our hospital security department all working hand in hand. And utilizing Everbridge aided us in getting messages out to our responders and our administrative staff. We were able to give situational updates. The police were on campus, that we activated our emergency operations plan, that we locked down the building, and we were able to give our sit reps situational reports about how many victims we had, the building damage, and we gave extra information to our responders. So how did the drill affect our facility? We had over 80 employees from security, facilities management, environmental services, our patient decontamination team, our Center for Mental Health, and our hospital administration that were participating. But overall, there was a larger number. All the departments had participated by sending in staff availability information and other things. So we had several hundred participate, but we had 80 people on that area at the time during our command and control. So 30 law enforcement officers converged on the building, our local police, the county police, the state police, and the SWAT team. The EMS squads responded and staged outside the building. Our emergency management staff from the county and our local staff, they were here to assist and be a resource if the hospital needed it. And we created a unified command post under the guidance of the National Incident Management System. With NIMS, the guidance there helped us control our situation. We also did another drill on June 12th. It was our medical services radiation drill. We were very excited about this. We actually had FEMA here evaluating us, as well as the PEMA, Pennsylvania Emergency Management, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And we had one patient come in from a nuclear power plant with possible radiation contamination. We were able to activate our emergency operation plan. We were able to send out a notification to administration that we had one patient coming in, and we let them know when the patient arrived, and we also let them know when we completed the exercise. So it was rather exciting for us. It was the first time in 7 years that we had FEMA here to visit. So how does radiation affect hospitals in the community? Some hospitals aren't equipped to handle this type of emergency. They may not have the survey equipment, dosimeters, or the proper professional protective equipment that you may have. So if you don't have the proper PPE, can you effectively handle contamination of that type? Are the local highways and roads accessible, or have they been closed due to the sheer number of people trying to evacuate the area and go to reception centers? The worried well, they might show up at your facility. I think I've been contaminated. What do you do with them? Emergency preparedness information is available from your local, regional, or state websites, and also in the local phone books. You're able to look up and see if you have a power plant in your vicinity, pertinent information. One of the key things for emergency preparedness is being able to identify your preparedness capabilities, your response capabilities, your recovery capabilities, and what you can do to mitigate. Our levels of activation for our emergency operations plan, we do an alert, which is just a self-check. We check and see how many people are here today working, what's our patient numbers, what supplies do we have available. We might have a minor event. It's something that can be handled by the department, and we don't have to send all the resources that we may need. We also have the Code D internal or external event, and it can affect us in many ways. It could be a mass casualty incident. It can be an incident outside the facility that's going to bring us a lot of patients, or it could be an incident at our facility that's going to create more patients or the need of moving patients. So messaging 24/7, 365 days a year. Our Security Command Center officers are trained. My staff in the Emergency Operations Department are trained, and everybody's capable of sending messages on the fly. We have pre-recorded messages that are available for use. Messages can be sent with Quick Launch or the Aware platform. Our emergency management steering team is actually in the process of looking at the new Everbridge platform, and we have a presentation scheduled. We're looking forward to enhancing the system that we currently have. So you have to think about power failures. Look at Hurricane Sandy when it hit us in November. We were very fortunate. We didn't have to send messages out with Everbridge, but we were able to take an area that we lost power in 2 of our office buildings and 1 of our storage rooms. We were able to put an emergency generator in place and put shop lights in there, get the computers and telephone systems operational, all with a portable generator. But if we were in an area where we had a widespread power outage, we may have to consider sending messages. And the same thing with our other utilities, the water, natural gas, sewer. We're pretty fortunate that we have redundancies for a lot of our systems, electric and water, but we don't have redundancy for our sewage system. You know, the things to keep in mind. Do you need to keep a water supply on hand to keep your facility operational during an emergency, whether it's bottled or whether you truck it in? And do you have a way to move that water? How will you heat your building and keep your equipment operational if it's powered by natural gas? And then the one thing that everyone never thinks of, but I learned this during Hurricane Katrina and talking to different people at preparedness conferences, that they didn't have bathrooms available, so they used oil dry and kitty litter and 5-gallon buckets and patient commodes with bags instead of having bathrooms. So when you don't have those resources available, your utilities, what are you going to do? Continuing operation plans. Does your facility have a plan or policy that they follow? The COOP also gives you an ability to do a gap analysis to identify and document your vulnerabilities. You can train your staff and conduct exercises. Catastrophic disasters require COOP activation and help guarantee that your facility can continue to provide its vital services to the residents and other businesses. Whenever we do a drill, we follow the HC guidelines that Department of Homeland Security has set up. Our program management, the planning meetings, so depending on how big the exercise is going to be, we're going to look at how many people we're going to have to invite, the number of meetings that we're going to have, and the frequencies of occurrence. And then we evaluate. We use the exercise evaluation guides. The EEGs help us with the design process, and we can create a good discussion and questions, and the master scenario event list is very important to have. So once the measles completed and you shared with everybody, you share your exercise conduct and make sure everyone understands what their roles are and what to do if a real-world event does take place. So we're able to focus on the core capabilities and find out what our objectives are. And we're able to target critical tasks and things that need to be done. And we can make plans and follow our procedures. And the after-action report. Once the draft's completed, confirm your observations and determine areas for improvement and what needs further actions. And an improvement plan. Once everything's been evaluated and the improvement plan's in place, what do you need to do as a corrective action to set up and implement these processes? So what's the most common failure during emergencies? Communications. Every exercise I've been involved, we've had hurdles that we've had to cross with communications, whether it's a phone system, whether it's not being able to get somebody on the cell phone or their cell phone batteries died. Do you have extra chargers for your staff? Hospital radios or radio systems that you're using. You might be on a trunk system. You may be using a Motorola home radio system like the FRS radios. Can you get through your building? Computers. Is your IT network operational? Pagers. We utilize Alpha pagers, and our system has a repeater here. We're very fortunate that we're able to continue with communications through our pagers and send messages, but it's only one-way communications, so you're limited. Other devices. As a hospital, we're very fortunate to have another system called Vocera. It's very much like a Star Trek communicator. You're able to push the button and call the person you want, and you have instant communications. So looking at the after-action reports and measuring your successes, your core capabilities, once you've looked at those and you've got your situational assessment, you deliver the information to make decisions regarding the immediate life-saving and sustaining activities. Your operation communications, you want to establish effective interoperable communications. I'm very fortunate to have a system that I'm able to patch our police and fire departments into through a series of repeaters, and I've got redundant communication and we're interoperable with other agencies. Operational coordination, develop your command and control coordination structures within the affected community, and follow your NIMS guidance, compliant with command control coordination structures to meet your basic human needs, stabilize the incident, and transition to recovery. Because as soon as the incident occurs, I automatically start thinking, how am I going to get into my recovery phases? And manage your resources throughout the incident response. And once you're completed, develop your incident action plan. Environmental response and health safety, you want to make sure you perform site management and control activities, identify problems, complete the hazard assessment and risk evaluation. Select your personal protective clothing and equipment if you need that, if it's a spill of some sort or whatever the situation may be, and implement tactics to accomplish operational objectives and perform decontamination and cleanup. Once again, these are geared toward hospitals and what we do with our patient decontamination and our hazardous materials incidents that we have here. But public health and medical services, we want to make sure you establish triage and pre-hospital treatment tactical operations, manage hospital operations in response to mass casualty incidents and public health operations, and public information and warnings. We want to make sure we provide all management coordination of public information and warnings as well. Coordinate development and dissemination of public emergency information, sharing the information that we receive from the outside agencies. All this is key in being prepared. So at this point, I have to say, are you prepared? I look at this every day, and I'm thankful for the team that I have here at our healthcare system and our resources that we have in the community with our state and our local representation. And I would like to thank Everbridge for giving me the opportunity to share this information with everyone today, and I hope everyone has a good day, and I'll be available if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Jim. Let me turn the presentation over to Claudia Dent. Claudia, you have the floor.
All right. So, hey, Jim, thank you very much for that presentation. It was really helpful and certainly set the stage for deeper understanding around all the dimensions of being prepared, et cetera. One of the things I'm going to cover this morning is, coupled with that preparedness, how do you actually overcome communication challenges? I think Jim effectively covered all, of the aspects, many of the aspects of the need for effective communications. Of course, around employee protection, life and safety, incident response and management, community health support, and then the things you may want to do for compliance purposes. All of those involve and require, very effective communications. And we all know that, responding under pressure adds, an additional complexity around, being able to ensure that you can really respond quickly and effectively. And, in order to do that, you really need to have both the infrastructure and the tools and also processes that are enable you to really automatically respond to support crises. So a lot of this is what we're going to talk about in terms of the solution that Everbridge provides. As you look at effective communications, there's a number of different challenges in terms of delivering clear, consistent notifications to employees, constituents, et cetera. And some of the challenges include, the whole, errors under duress, right? In an emergency situation, you're not always thinking at the top of your game. You don't always have time, so you want to be able to have as much prepared as possible. One of the other challenges is not having the right contact list available, having too many systems to draw on, and having inconsistent processes, and maybe limited access even to frontline intelligence, so not really understanding what's happening, so the messages that you deliver, aren't as relevant or clear as they could be. On the other side, it's knowing how people are responding, the responder challenges. Have your messages have they been received, or are you transmitting into a black hole? Have the right teams been notified? If you were audited, could you prove that people had been notified and had confirmed the receipt of a particular message? Can you really prove it? Those are some of the challenges on the responder side. So we're going to talk today about combining both smart delivery and assured response, and the elements of really combining both of those to make a complete notification solution that enables you to connect and confirm as confidently as possible. So the first element is all around smart delivery. How do you prepare for various scenarios and have predetermined messages and templates ready to go? Well, the Everbridge solution enables you to do that, so you can store all of these templates and contact lists and notification settings, so that in the event of an emergency, you can just pull that template up and within one click send that notification. But it's also important to be able to respond for the unexpected and be able to quickly and easily in one page define the message, who you're going to send it to, and how you're going to send it. And with the Everbridge mass notification system, you're able to do that incredibly easily within one page, one-click sending. And again, the whole notion of really crafting message maps in advance. So anticipating, and Jim really talked a lot about this, as many possible scenarios as possible. And having messages that are relevant to different stages of a particular event as well. And also being able to understand under what circumstances, how do you communicate with people? What's the best mode of communication? Is it going to be a landline voice message? Is it going to be an SMS text message? Is it going to be desktop alerting? There are a variety of ways that you may want to communicate with people. And it's always important to think about what the most effective method is going to be, but to also think about what are the backup methods, because as one of the things Jim mentioned was Hurricane Sandy. Well, during the course of Hurricane Sandy, a lot of power was lost, and there were time periods where landlines were down. So just having voice to landlines would not have been effective. Having other modes, whether it's SMS, voice, mobile messages, emails, etc., lined up so that you're leveraging all these possible contact paths is essential. Also, we all know that emergencies don't happen from 9 to 5. So one of the key elements is being able to, launch a notification wherever you are. So Everbridge provides a mobile manager solution that enables you to, from your smartphone or iPad or tablet, to easily launch any template that you've pre-prepared to deliver an on-the-fly message, and to also leverage even messages that are based on a particular geography. So from your mobile device, being able to target a specific geography and send a message. In addition to providing mass notification, Everbridge also provides the ability to manage incidents that are a little bit more structured in terms of the data that you may want to collect around them, etc. And one of the examples of that is being able to manage things like STEMI alerts or code alerts. There's a certain set of information that's consistent every time there's a STEMI alert, and being able to have a set of fields that are, in a template that's, pre-populated with choices and text boxes to quickly fill in, etc., is one way to really consistently manage elements of those kinds of alerts and provide audit trails and journaling, etc. The second piece of the puzzle around, the first half was all around smart delivery, and the second piece of the puzzle here is all around assured response and really ensuring that, your contacts are being contacted in a way that's most effective for them. So what Everbridge enables you to do is really use the contact's personal preferences to improve the message confirmation. And what we do is, every time we go through a particular notification, we do a series of attempts. And if that first attempt is not successful for certain individuals, we continue a second attempt, and we keep going until we have gotten all of the responses. And if we get to the end of those attempt runs and there are still people who have not responded, you can easily resend the notification broadcast to all of those who have not responded and confirmed that they've actually received the message. So we do this in a very structured way so that you can understand who has responded, who hasn't, and you can quickly reach out to those people who have not responded. One of the other elements in emergency management and notifications is really being able to get better understanding of what's happening on the ground. And with two-way mobile communications, you can really leverage your constituents and employees to better understand what's happening on the ground. So with Everbridge, not only does the manager have an application to send out emergency notifications, but we also have a vehicle for employees to send and respond to emergency notifications. And they can easily send pictures of a particular situation, whether it's a fire or something that's happened on a particular floor of a healthcare facility. Getting a picture that's, by the way, communicated in a secure fashion to the manager portal. So the person who's really driving the notifications and trying to manage the situation has as much information as possible that's really up to date to get a better understanding of actions that need to be taken. And again, we talk about assured response and really the ability to understand status reporting. And getting real-time dashboards of who has responded, who hasn't, and being able over time, and this is really all about preparedness as well, is how do you improve your confirmation response rate? And the only way you can do that is if you understand your past performance and and the timings around that and the and the confirmation rates, and then over time you can improve those processes and really improve your performance as well. So it's really important to think about best practices and plan in advance. A key element is having really data quality that's for your contacts, etc., that is up to date, so that you really understand and know, and you can be assured when you push the button that everything is in order and in place. It's also really key to understand and be familiar with the notification platform that you're leveraging, so that you avoid errors and that you can also really leverage the richness of the Everbridge notification platform system. So it's not just about quickly sending out a message, it's about managing that process, etc. And one of the things that Everbridge really encourages is that you really take a lot of time to do training and testing. That you provide the ability, and Jim talked a lot about this, is to really do the realistic drills, so that the people managing the notification platform are measured in terms of their response timelines, et cetera, and it becomes second nature. The drills really enable people to respond quickly in a second nature perspective. So when a real emergency happens, everybody just swings into action, and all communications and management of the communications is smooth. So one of the key things that the Everbridge platform involves, it's not just the technology to drive the notifications and the solution itself. We have a fully integrated platform, but we also provide what we call Everbridge University. And it's really about training and helping you be better prepared. And our Everbridge University is a whole system of online courses that you can take anytime you want, wherever you are, because it's all based out of our software as a service platform. And you can take these classes at any pace. And you can explore topics that are of most relevance and interest to you, when you need to. So we have a set of standard lessons. Each lesson is 10 minutes or less in length. So the idea here was to make it so that you don't have to sit down for 2 hours to take a class, that you can just leverage these little lessons as required, or in the event that you need to bone up on a certain topic, as for example, Hurricane Sandy is approaching. How do you ensure that you're really prepared for something like that? And we also really focus the lessons on best practices. So it's not just about how to leverage the solution, or how to manage notification settings. Of course, those are key elements of the training, but it's about best practices. It's about how do you effectively create a message in the event of an emergency. There are certain best practices, for example, like the 3-3-30 rule, where you want to focus on only 3 thoughts, 3 sentences, and less than 30 words. It's all that someone can absorb during the event of an emergency. We also provide the Everbridge Mass Notification Message Sender Certification. And what this really does is it tests the applicant's full understanding of the versatility and the best practices in creating and sending messages. Our system is fairly easy to use, and you can actually lock the system down for particular practitioners, so all they really literally have to do is push a button to send a message. But for any situation, you do want a certain set of experts in your organization, and the certification is a way to elevate those experts and actually, enable them to prove that they are certified. And the way that they pass the certification is by taking, a set of classes and quizzes. Once they've passed that, they go on to take the certification exam. And it's all about, ensuring different levels of preparedness. So those are the 2 key elements, that whole smart delivery, assured response. And of course, it rests on this trusted platform. And the trusted platform, involves the unified data management for contacts, an elastic infrastructure, redundancy, et cetera. And it also includes, a rich set of classware called Everbridge University. The Everbridge suite, just to fill in a little bit about the products themselves, we've talked mostly about mass notification, and those are the kinds of capabilities that Jim has been talking about and he leveraged at Reading. Incident management is a product that is also part of the Everbridge suite, and that's the ability to manage more structured incidents with more automated rules, et cetera. Interactive visibility is a way to leverage a map-based visualization to look at who you're going to contact from a geography perspective, and also integrates with social media, our mobile solution, weather events, etc. And then, of course, we provide a two-way communication with a rich set of mobile applications that enable mobile managers to send messages and mobile members to also receive and send messages as well. So, you know, Everbridge has been in business for over 10 years in the emergency mass notification space. We have over 1,500 customers, you know, crossing all these different verticals. And I would invite you to reach out to the Everbridge team to understand, you know, more about how we can help you leverage, you know, not only emergency mass notifications, but any kind of critical communications that need to transpire in your organization, because our platform enables you to unify, you know, not only emergency notifications, but other critical incidents as well. So with that brief overview of Everbridge, I'd like to, first of all, thank everyone for attending. We really appreciate you taking the time this morning. And also, I'd like to turn it over at this point for questions and answers.
Great. Thank you, Claudia. So just a reminder, we're going to open it up to questions. You may submit your questions by typing a question into the open text field in the questions panel on your screen and submitting to all panelists. And we'll answer as many questions as time allows. So the first question goes to Jim. How often do you recommend an entity test their plans? And is there a difference between a schedule for full tests or tabletop testing in between full tests?
Well, that depends.
Jim, we might have you muted. Oh, there you are.
Hello. Yeah, I was thinking about the question in depth, and you know, some plans it's adequate to test them annually, and in some cases you may have to look at every 6 months or maybe even quarterly, depending on your needs. And also the authority having jurisdiction. Who do you report to? Is it a Department of Health, or is it a government agency that's overseeing your organization? So those types of ideas all come into mind and are key factors.
Great, thank you. So the next question is for you as well. So obviously realistic drills can be stressful and traumatic for involved employees, even if they're aware that it's a simulation. How do you balance testing and preparation with employee mental health?
Well, we actually look at that very closely, because when we did our active shooter drill, not only did I have our county D-Corp people available for debriefing for critical stress management, but we also had our in-house chaplains available. So we actually brought them into one of the planning meetings and discussed how we would handle anybody who felt uncomfortable during the exercise, or if it were even a real event, how we would handle it.
Great, thank you. So this next question is for Claudia. When testing through the system, how do you ensure that all recipients understand that the communication is in fact a test? And is there a recommended communication testing strategy when public recipients are involved?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first of all, when you are doing a test, you know, to any public recipients, you want to make sure that the first thing that you say is, this is a test, right? I mean, we've all been involved in the emergency broadcast solutions, et cetera. One of the things that when you're leveraging the Everbridge platform, you can also leverage it for other types of communications that aren't emergencies, and a lot of our state and local government agencies do that, you know, whether it's community alerts, et cetera. And so you start to get an understanding of, you know, are people receiving them or not. It's also key to, you know, to ensure that you're tracking the confirmation as well, so that you can actually measure, you know, who is confirming, who's not. Are there certain patterns? Are there certain modalities that work better etc.
Great, thank you. And Claudia, while we have you, we've actually had a lot of questions about repeating the 3-3-30 rule.
Okay, sure. So the 3-3-30 rule is a best practice around emergency notifications. So basically, the theme and the idea behind the best practice is that people can't really absorb a lot of detailed, complex information during the course of an emergency. So when you formulate a message that goes out, you want to craft it really carefully. And if you can craft it ahead of time, because you're actually planning for an event, as an example, Hurricane Sandy or an active shooter event, etc., you can have these carefully crafted ahead of time. And the 3-3-30 rule is that you would have 3 thoughts, and no more than 3 thoughts. 3 thoughts at the most. If you can have less than that, that's fine. 3 sentences, so no more than 3 sentences, and 30 words at the maximum. And just very specific, pointed instructions and actions for people to take. Or if you don't want them to do anything, it's very important to say and make that clear as well, whether that's stay put, etc., but just ensuring that those messages are very crisp and concise. Because most people want to know, what do I do next?
Great, thank you. And this one is for Jim. So with multiple potential scenarios, do you have a method for prioritizing which scenarios are included as drills?
Yes, we do. We actually look at our hazard vulnerability analysis that we conduct each year, and that helps us weigh in what we're going to target. And we also look at how we did in our preparedness efforts in those categories, because as we look at a specific item, our number 1 item, we're level 2 trauma center, mass casualty. So we always do some type of exercise and look at having mass casualty involved, so we can look at how we're going to handle the volume of patients, if there's mass fatality involved, any of those key factors. So that's typically the way we look at it.
Great, thank you. So this question came in for Claudia, but maybe Claudia can answer it from a theoretical standpoint, and then Jim, maybe you can speak to what you've done at Reading Health System. If there are power outages and cell networks are down, what options would be recommended to communicate to key personnel?
Yeah, so basically, usually the first thing that goes down are landlines, and sometimes the cell towers follow. But the best thing to do is to have a set of multimodal communication contact paths available. And that includes landlines, mobile, SMS, because sometimes cell towers can be really flooded. A great example is the Boston Marathon explosion, where you couldn't get calls through at all in the immediate Boston area, mobile phone calls, but you could do SMS and text messages. So being able to have those multiple channels is key for sure.
And I can chime in too. Like with our hospital radio system, we have a UHF, which is an ultra-high frequency system. You can purchase standalone systems or just individual units, everything from the Motorola family radio, the FRS systems, which are very inexpensive way to create redundant communications that if you can't utilize a telephone, whether it's a landline, whether it's a cell phone, and I'm talking worst case scenarios here, these commercial products are available. But as Claudia did indicate, in a lot of areas where you have no cell signal, you're still capable of sending a text message. So there's a bunch of options there available.
Great, thank you. So Jim, this one is for you as well. Did your health system encounter any challenges getting employees to agree to sign up to receive messages? And how about employee acceptance of receiving non-emergency messages, for example, those pertaining to workflow?
Well, we're limited in how many people we actually have tied into our system. We did not put every employee in the hospital in. Most of our employees are either responders that they know it's part of their job and they are in an on-call situation, so they carry a pager, a cell phone, and know they need to stay available during a certain time frame. And the others are leaders and administrators, managers, supervisors. So it's all people that are designated as an emergency contact. So it's a little difficult to answer that question because we didn't really give some of those people a choice. They know they're in a role and a position that is required, especially in healthcare.
Great, thank you. So this one is for Claudia. Can you expand on the integration of GIS mapping and photos into alerts?
Sure. So with our product called Interactive Visibility, basically it's the ability to visualize a map of any particular geography that you're interested in, and being able to correlate that with all the contacts that are in your contact database. So they surface as dots on the map, so you know where everyone is located. And then on top of that, you can actually overlay where you're receiving photos from your mobile members. So your mobile members can take pictures, and they can send you pictures, for example, of a fire or another kind of emergency situation, or damage from a hurricane, or an accident. Even in a medical situation, pictures can be exchanged securely, and those surface on the universe itself, so the person managing the situation can actually see and visualize those pictures, and then use that information and also text information from the mobile member to actually craft better notifications, rally the right services, etc. The second element of interactive visibility is not only interacting with your own constituents from a mobile perspective, but also being able to understand what's happening from a Twitter perspective. So being able to selectively monitor social media for tweets that may give you information relating to a certain event. No one wants to sit there and look at millions of Twitter feeds, right? That's crazy. But our product enables you to selectively look at Twitter feeds that meet a certain threshold, whether that's a certain set of keywords. So it might be Hurricane Sandy in a certain piece of the geography, or an active shooter situation, etc. Or you might set up thresholds in advance around explosion or bomb. So you're only getting the information that could give you relevant information to the kinds of situations that you would have to manage. And then in addition to that, not only are you looking at the Twitter feeds, but oftentimes people are posting photos as well. So it's just giving you that extra layer of situational intelligence, from not only your own constituents, but the public as well.
Great, thank you. So Jim, this one is for you. Do you have a dedicated communication team, or is this managed through multiple roles within the EOC?
It's through multiple roles of our EOC. I have some key people that are selected based on their positions, and we work on training with those from our telephone services department, our security department, and support staff, the administrative support staff. So they're typically the ones that I try and target and use for our communications roles.
Great, thank you. And just a few more questions. So I think this one will actually probably field to both of you. So Claudia from a system perspective and maybe Jim from a real-life perspective. So different types of incidents require different responses. How is that handled?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, absolutely, different incidences require, different responses. And there are, there's when you're thinking about, the critical communications around incidents or events, there's three elements to that. The message itself, which we've talked about, who needs to know what. And for some instances, there are, if there are emergencies, they're going to follow like that 3-3-30 rule. But you also may want to look at incidents that, where you have to always have a structured set of information, like a STEMI alert, et cetera, where there is, particular medical variables that, must be filled in for each STEMI alert. So it's what information needs to be contained. The second is who needs to be contacted. How many people need to be notified. That's the second element. And then the third element is, how are you going to reach them? What communication paths are you going to use? Do you need to, how urgent is it? So are you just sending text and emails, or are you, ringing phones, mobile phones, landlines, et cetera? What time of day is it? All of those elements, would need to be considered as well. And, as you look at your critical communications needs, you should be able to plan for a certain set of scenarios and slot them into, whether they're emergency notifications, whether they are incident management and they're more operational, et cetera. So those are many of the considerations.
Yeah, and I have to agree with Claudia. Depending on whether it's an operational situation or an emergency, predetermine your plans and have an idea how many responders you're going to need. Is it going to have to be all hands on deck type scenario? And I think about our role here in healthcare, a situation like an exercise we did today. We had our security department respond, but we escalated it to other departments and had other departments back us up. So depending on what your plans, if you have a plan or you want to create a plan, look at what your needs are, identify those challenges, and as Claudia emphasized, being able to work through it all.
Great, thank you. So I think we have time for just one more question. So Claudia, can you speak a little bit more about how communications are secured?
Sure. So from a mobile perspective, we use encrypted channels on mobile devices, and that enables us to encrypt on both ends basically, so that you can send either a message using our mobile member application, which would be the secure channel, as well as attaching to those communications documents that could be encrypted as well, and that would include pictures, Word documents, videos, et cetera.
Great, thank you so much. So unfortunately, we've run out of time for the Q&A session. Just as a reminder, if your question wasn't answered during this live portion, we'll make an effort to follow up with you afterwards and make sure that you get a response. So thank you, Jim and Claudia, for a great session, and to all of our attendees who were able to join us today. If you missed any part of the webinar, it will be available. The slides are going to be on blog.everbridge.com. And an email will be sent out with a link to the recording in a few days. So once again, if you haven't already, please take a moment to follow us on Twitter at @Everbridge and join our group on LinkedIn, Everbridge Incident Management and Emergency Notification Professionals. For those of you interested in seeing a demo of the new Everbridge system, please visit everbridge.com/contact-us to request a demo. So thank you all again for your participation in today's presentation on the Expecting the Unexpected, Emergency and Incident Preparation and Training. And we hope to see you at another event soon. Have a great day.